This looks great. Really fantastic work here. Oh, nice work. These letter forms are about perfect. I was looking at them against the actual letter forms, and you nailed it. You really did. I love the fact that you paid attention to those variable width strokes right there in the A, and then at the N where that branch meets that vertical stem. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Even your uppercase, I'm sorry, your uppercase B, the closed counter in the uppercase B second story is smaller than the closed counter on the first story of your uppercase B. So you are really, really paying attention here. I'm super impressed, Cassie. Nice work. Okay, a couple of things we want to address, and I'm going to just shift down here. This one has a little bit more contrast, so we'll take a look at this. So the first thing we see is that the baseline is established perfectly level, and that's your logical starting point, is to establish a solid, perfectly level baseline. Okay, now the baseline, once you have the baseline, it looks like you went ahead and drew the baseline, mean line, and cap line without the assistance of the letter forms, which, as you have probably found out, is not the most expeditious way to go about it, because right now this mean line is placed incorrectly. So let's look at the terminology. So for this assignment, we have baseline, mean line, cap line, and x height. Okay, so the baseline is the baseline. We talked about that. Now, what is the x height? The x height is the height of the lowercase letters. The mean line is the line that connects the lowercase letters, and the cap height, or the cap line, is the line that the top of the capital letters resides on. Okay, so what you want to do is you can't really establish an x height without a mean line without taking a look at the x height of the given font. So what I would do, my recommendation would be this, is just for your final iteration. First, draw your baseline. All right, then take your tracing paper where you have the baseline perfectly level, and place it over one of the letter forms here. Okay, so the baseline relies right at the bottom of the letter form. Now, don't forget overshoot. Overshoot means that curved letter forms hang over above the mean line and below the baseline, just a very minuscule amount. That's called an optical relationship. We'll talk about that next week. At any rate, so you place the A on the baseline, right? And then just take your pencil and just mark the height of the lowercase a with the overshoot in mind. Okay, then move your tracing paper down. Take the letter, move your tracing paper down, and place another lowercase a, and then do the same thing. Mark the x height, and then you can connect those lines, and you have what? Your mean line, right? Then what you can do is do the same thing with the uppercase B. Place the uppercase B on the baseline, all right? Then take your tracing paper and mark the top of the uppercase B. Then do the same thing with an uppercase B over here. Mark a little dot at the top of the uppercase B. Connect those lines, and you have your what? Your cap line. All right, so then your guidelines are set now, and so at this point your guidelines should be set, and also your craft is beautiful and your letters are formed beautifully. So I'm not worried about that at all for your second iteration. Let's talk about spacing. The reason spacing is so important is because it promotes expeditious pronunciation, mental pronunciation, as well as good cadence in reading. So basically what we do is when we see a break somewhere, we automatically break. If there's a space somewhere, we automatically break. So if we're reading and there's a space between letters in a word, we automatically break for that. Now, we don't necessarily want to do that unless it's fully intended. Let me give you the same example I've been using in the other video critiques. Is, let's say we have an unusually large space between the N and the A, more space than between the other letters. How would we read this word? We wouldn't read it banana, we would read it banana, because we want to break where the space is. That's why letter spacing is so important, and that's why good, solid, consistent letter spacing is so important. Letter spacing not only in individual letters, but we can follow this rule of thumb through to words, through to sentences, and all the way through paragraphs in paragraph formatting. So spacing, letter spacing, and word spacing is extremely, extremely important to expeditious reading, expeditious mental pronunciation, and establishing good mental cadence when you're reading, as well as retention as well, because there will be less breaks when you're reading. Okay, what do we do from here? Now you've established what you consider to be normal letter spacing, and I agree. But when we look at the letter spacing, the spaces between these letters it's pretty large. And so what we want to do is we want to kind of reduce the spacing a little bit. And the main intent here is we are shooting for the appearance that the space between all of these letter combinations holds the same volume. So you can think of it as pouring a pitcher of water in here. The space between that right here. Okay, so where the mean line meets the letters and where the baseline meets the letters, the space in between there. Now in these open counters here, you can just pretend that they're closed. All right, and you just look at that area. So basically what you want to do is you want to say, okay, if I pour a pitcher of water in here, I want this to fill up at the same rate this fills up. That's indicating equal volume, right? So we take that theory and we apply some general rules to it. So if we want this to hold the same volume of this is a smaller area, right? Than this, because we have this extra area here, 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 where all the curves are, is extra area that doesn't exist in straight letter forms. So when we have a straight letter form, and when we have two straight letter forms, that's the least amount of area. When we have two curved letter forms, that's going to show the greatest amount of area. And we have a curve and a straight, that's going to show somewhere in between. So again, following this reasoning, we take this formula. The most narrow space between letters should reside between two curved letter forms. Okay, that's the most narrow. So you want to get that A right close to that B. Those are two curved letter forms. Those should be the most narrow spaced. The next widest space should be the space between a straight letter form and a curved letter form. Okay, and then the widest space should be the space between two straight letter forms. Now, following that principle, you can see that if you close down those open counters of the lowercase a's, we could pour a pitcher in here, and if the spacing is right, it will fill up at the same rate as this, this, and this. Imagine we're pouring pitchers of water in between all the spaces between letters, and we want them to fill evenly. That's how we space letters. So think about that little simple formula I gave you. Apply it. Keep up the great craft. Try to use one. It looks like you taped your paper together here, which I guess I'm okay with. Don't go out and buy a different size sketchbook for these assignments. If this is, I'm fine with this, perfectly fine. I thought it was smart not to cross that page line with a letter form. I'd have done the same thing there. But anyways, and then watch your baseline, mainline, cap line. They have to be accurate. And then just follow that general guidelines I just mentioned about letter spacing. And you're good to go. All right. Fantastic job. If you have any questions at all, Cassie, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. Thank you very much.